The first one is Faiza Yousuf.
Okay.
She works in Pakistan. She's been
Mhm.
working very much with empowering young women in IT. Um, she's a very tiny woman with a lot of energy, very caring with a good sense of humor, and I think she makes a dent in the world with all the work that she does.
Great. That's
I
great to
I
hear.
was
That
lucky enough to meet her at Agile Testing Days 1 year, and she's just amazing.
in this interview, Faiza Yousuf is talking about one, how priorities define what she's working on. Two, how technology has changed her life and brought her a lot of opportunities. Three, how she has been part of an organization that taught ICT to 800 women, of which 200 became financial independent. And four, why she is doing a weekly personal retrospective. Recording this interview between Belgium and Pakistan was not that easy. We had lots of technical difficulties. I tried to work around most of them. You will still hear that the sound is not optimal. I apologize for that. I hope you can still enjoy the interview with Faiza because I think it's phenomenal what she's doing. I'm Yves from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it. Hi, Faisa. Good morning.
Hello, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. It's sunny here. Well, fine, depending on how you look. With the whole world is going crazy. 2 years pandemic and now a war that seems to start. But as good as we can get in these circumstances. So,
Yeah.
Faiza, what do you want people to know about you? What's a good introduction for you?
So my name is Faiza Yousuf. I am based in Karachi, Pakistan, and I've been working in the tech industry for 12 years, a little over 12 years now, and I've had multiple roles from a deployment engineer to a tester to a business analyst to a project manager and now a product manager. And other than that, I run multiple initiatives here in Pakistan around gender diversity and inclusion, a coding boot camp, some other small programs to make sure that women do get the opportunity to, be part of the tech ecosystem. Yeah.
I wanted to bring, can I bring it on screen? Yes, just to have give a small ID. I'm somewhere here and you're somewhere here, I think, if this is correct. So this is how the world is separated. It's 9:36 here in the morning. What time is it on your side?
It's 1:36 p.m.
Yeah, so just to have people a feeling about how globally distributed we are, what does that mean? Because it looks very close. We're close on screen here, but really we're two worlds far apart with all the technical problems that we might have and see. But let's jump immediately into that first question. What is something people usually don't know about you, but has influenced you in who you are?
Um, I think a lot of people now know that about me, but I have a learning disability. I have dyslexia, and I also got diagnosed with ADHD a few years ago. People don't know that about me, but I think it has shaped me as a person, also a lot of things in my career and the work that I do. Because of the learning disability, I look at things a bit differently than the normal people or neurotypical people would see. So I think it has a lot of it has had a lot of influence on me throughout my life because I need to look at things and learn things in a different way. So I think I would say that a learning disability and also ADHD would be the things that people usually don't know about me. Yeah.
And I can imagine dyslexia has. I have a son with dyslexia, so I know how that influences you. But yeah, it also typically creates a lot of creativity. People have to, with dyslexia, have to find other ways to do stuff, and yeah, that usually brings much more. I see a lot more creativity in these people, so definitely has an influence, but not always a negative one. It starts out negative, but it can bring out a lot of positive things. Well, so
Definitely. Yeah.
I want to go immediately to that next question. That if you had not been to IT, what would have become to you? Do you have any idea what could have been?
I I'm not sure, but I think I have gotten myself a degree in literature, English literature, because that was another thing that I wanted to do. One point in time, I was really interested in botany, so maybe in that area. But from the very start of my college and then junior high and high school, I wanted to get into computer science because I was really fascinated by them. And another reason that I was fascinated by computers was my dyslexia, because reading and writing, by hand, had been difficult. So typing things is comparatively easier, and reading the typed word is also comparatively easier. So I got fascinated by computers and printed word, way before I even thought about getting an engineering degree. But yeah, these were the two things that I was thinking about.
Because computers made your life easier as a dyslexic person. I can definitely can see that. Um, yeah, definitely. That's it brought in different ways to communicate. Let's put it then this way. And now these days we do it remotely, so that brings even more value there. So that's okay. That's yeah. I'm not surprised in that sense because I see that again with my son and with other people as well. But it's that it's definitely something how people come to that.
Yeah.
The next question is, what is your biggest challenge, and is it a good thing? And if so, why is it a good thing for you?
I think right now, the biggest challenge for me is to find time for all the things that I'm doing, but I think it also makes me very creative about my time and very mindful of my time. So, I never thought 5 years ago or 8 years ago I would be following my life by a calendar or a productivity app, but now I do. I also think that even though the busier that I get, the more experimental things and work that I want to do. So that is another thing that brings a lot of learning. So if someone comes up to me with an exciting project or an idea, and I think that it's worth investing my time into, I would find time for that. So I think my perception of time has changed, and I also have realized that when we say we don't have time, it means we have not prioritized enough our days. So I think time had been and has been a bigger challenge for me, but so far I'm faring well with that. Yeah.
I like the way you phrase it because yes, we all have 24 hours a day or 12, depending on how much you want to sleep, somewhere in between there. But yes, it's about priorities. It's about what do we want to value, and I liked what you say. Sometimes a new project comes along and you want to do it. Well, maybe another project becomes less important, or even if you still like it, if there, yeah, it's about priorities. And that's yeah, that's a lot what we need to think about in this world. We sometimes seem to forget. Indeed, when people say I don't have time, yeah, it's possible, but really it means you don't want to make time for this, and that's fine as well. I mean, we all have to make
Yes.
priorities.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I also think that it has to do with the care and responsibilities you have as a person, especially if you're a parent. Yeah, I was saying that I don't have kids, so I have more control over my calendar and my time. But if you have young kids, or if you have care work responsibilities, then definitely your priorities would change, and you won't have that kind of control over your time and calendar. Um, but for me, I think because I do not have as such a lot of care work responsibilities other than my parents that I need to just check up on every week. So time is a resource that I can totally own, and then use it as I like. Yeah.
I like you mentioned the fact that yes, as parents, there is other people that challenge your time. Of course, children typically are a high priority. I have three children, so yeah, sometimes we have to prioritize among them, but at the same time, we have to teach them also. Like, okay, you can challenge, you can how would I call? You can plan some of the things, and sometimes we have to say, well, you're big enough, try to do this. For me, yeah, for me with three children, sometimes they bring in their own challenges. So today, indeed, there was a scheduling problem, a time problem, in the sense that this was scheduled, and my oldest son then said, "Oh, I have a basketball game to go to, and I need you to bring me by car because it's far." It's like, no, this is for me now a priority because we scheduled it already multiple times, and I know he can arrange it. Because the problem was on my side. For once, I said, okay, I'll just make sure that you have a car, you have someone who can bring you, one of your friends. In other conditions, I would say you have to arrange it yourself. For me, I felt it's my responsibility today, so I took the responsibility to make sure he can drive with someone. But still, I wouldn't do it after this call. I can take him home, so I'll check on that. But for this, it's like, and this is about priorities, like you say, and it's with three children. Yes, it is sometimes daunting. My partner is working today, even if it's on a Sunday. She has to work 1 out of 2 weekends. So yes, that is priorities have to be made. But thank you for sharing, because it's indeed, it's I think it's a challenge a lot of us have these days. So that's interesting. I want to go because you talked already about some of the initiatives that you do, and when you were proposed, Gitte talked about, you said, I would like you to have on there because she likes a lot of what you're doing. So I want to go to that next question, is that what drives you? Because it looks like you're a very driven person.
I think in terms of my work that brings in money, the bread and butter that I have, I really enjoy working in technology, and because it's a field that constantly changes, and you have to stay up to date and learn new things. So that is something that really drives me and motivates me. But on the other end, for the nonprofit work that I do around gender inclusion, I think the main driving force behind that is because technology has changed my life, and I never thought that someone from Pakistan sitting in Karachi, in a middle class family with no role models as such around in tech, would be able to do a lot of work around it. So it has changed my life, and it has brought a lot of opportunities to me, both in terms of taking care of myself and my family, and also because I have a learning disability, and it has made my life a lot easier. So I want the same for other women around me, and especially in Pakistan, because we are a fairly conservative country, and there are a lot of cultural and restrictions around women, and tech can enable a lot of them in terms of making them financially independent, and also bringing them a lot of excellent opportunities to learn and upgrade themselves. So I think that is my main driver, because I want to make sure that women also get opportunities to get to know about tech, and work in it if they like it.
So when you say I want to help other women, what is there anything even below that? Because that's yeah, I feel that there is something more. What is it that you want to give other women that you have or that you discovered? Is there something?
So that's a very good question. I think I was kind of avoiding telling that,
You
but if
don't
you
have to if you don't want to, eh?
no,
It's
no, I would
okay.
love to share that. Definitely. So again, in Pakistan, as I mentioned, we are a conservative society, and in a lot of cases, is people will prioritize their son's education over their daughter's education.
Mhm.
And if they can afford to send one child to university or college, they would prefer sending a boy to the college, no matter if guy is talented or wants to learn or not. So, in my case, I am the eldest daughter, and my parents were really open about this idea that you can learn whatever you want to learn. If you want to go to a university, you want to go to outside of the country, we are happy to support you in any way that that we can. And this kind of support, unconditional support, in terms of them understanding that they also have two younger sons and they can invest on them rather than investing on me, because that's usually the norm here.
Mhm.
They took that bet on me, and I did really well. And I also understood that um, no matter if someone is coming from an engineering background or a non-traditional background, if you give them the right skill set and if they are interested, they can learn tech. So this is something that I've also seen. One of my very close friends and a partner in a lot of my initiative, she doesn't have a college degree. She comes from a medical science background and she left her education at high school, and now she runs a software company with like 80, 90 people working with her. So she learned it via a coding boot camp, and then she built a company around that. And both of us, we work together because we see that tech has changed our lives, and we got a lot of opportunities in terms of working and making sure that we want to make sure that other people also get this opportunity. Yeah. So a friend of mine, she and I work with all these initiatives together. She doesn't have an engineering background or a college degree, and she started learning tech from like a local tech boot camp that we had here in Pakistan. She learned it, she started working, she built a company around it, and now she's a very successful software services company here in Pakistan. It's a small company, but they do excellent work. So and I actually work for her part time. Some days I go to her and work and make sure that things are going okay on the product side. So both of us knew that for me, my parents bet on me in terms of me having a learning disability and them being a middle class family, not having enough resources to invest on all of their children, and her finding the opportunity to work in tech even though she doesn't have the technical background. We realize that tech has a lot of potential. And in Pakistan, when they talk about women empowerment, they talk about low skilled labor. So they teach women how to sew or how to cook or how to do things around that, and these are very very low income jobs, and most of them are informal sector. So this is what I want to change at the core of it, that women should get the opportunity to learn to code and work in tech, make big buck, take care of themselves, take care of their families, because financial independence helps a lot of women get out of abusive relationships and abusive households. And this is something that really really is at the core of my work that I do, to make sure that they are not stuck in an abusive household just because they are unable to take care of themselves financially.
Yeah, think even if it's independent from a bad relationship, just having independent, having your own money is good for anyone. Uh, and it's never good to be, well, for me, I think in a relationship you want to have an equal level at all things, and money is a huge impact on yeah, on a relationship. If one of the persons has more money than the other, it's usually never, well, it's a lot harder. And definitely for women, I see that a lot. So that, thank you for doing this. I mean, I think it's important because well, you had that opportunity, like you said, from your parents, but you want to give it to other and you want to show it. I also like the fact what you mentioned in Parliament, because that's indeed what a lot of things happen. What we see doing is that, oh, we officially do something, but we focus and the numbers look, oh, we helped a lot of women or we helped a lot of I don't know what, but it's always with low kind of things. And what you're doing is, okay, let's bring them the same kind of jobs that men can do, and especially if they like it. And that's the interesting thing is that people sometimes seem to think that, oh, men should go to these jobs, women to these jobs. Like, no, that is we can find the jobs that fit us, like you say. And like you said, dyslexia, it kind of driven you to computer because it helped you, but now it helps you even more. So that's really nice. That's it's a wonderful story, and how I see you taking it on and helping other people. So thank you. I want to go to that next question. Is that you've talked now about a lot of things that you've done. What do you consider your biggest achievement? And I know it's not always easy to say biggest, but what are you really proud of? Something that you say, okay, I'm glad that I've done this.
I think the coding bootcamp that we run here in Karachi, this is something that I'm really proud of. Um, Shamim and I, my partner and I, we have been running it for 4 years now, and we have placed over 200 women in the tech industry here in
Oh,
Pakistan. So just really proud of the work that we were able to do, and also add for these women because they broke a lot of barriers to find opportunities. A lot of them have young children. A lot of them are single parents, and they just had that kind of grit and passion to learn how to code and then go and work in companies, some remote, some on site, depending upon the kind of work that they want to do. And we also add, because I run a coding boot camp, we don't push everyone to get a job, so we have a lot of women there who just want to learn and explore and see if it works out for them. So what
mhm.
we do is we ask them to enroll for 6 months and just tell them that dip your toes and see if you like it. If you like it, then go ahead and do another phase. And it's a free program, so they don't have to pay anything for learning how to code. And we, find sponsors from all around the globe for them, and then they sponsor them, they study, and then they go find themselves a job. So we do a lot of placements ourselves, but in a lot of cases they also find opportunities on their own.
Wow, and that number 200, it's really, really big because I don't know how many women are finishing a degree in IT somehow per year, but 200 is a lot that you just bring into. And these are all women that, because you said it's dipping their toes, so if they don't like it, they go somewhere else. Do you have any idea how many of the 200 really are taking a job into IT? Do you have any numbers on that?
Yeah, so we have graduated so far 800 women, and 200 of them are already employed, and rest of them are either
Wow.
working from home, running home-based businesses. Some of them have gone back to their traditional jobs, but have moved a bit towards IT. Um, some of them have gone towards teaching and training IT. The 200 that I'm telling you, these are the women who are working in tech industry itself as coders or as testers or as technical writers. So
So you
yeah.
talk about 200, but for me, you should talk about 800 because you helped 800 women. And okay, only one out of four is doing something officially as a job. But I think you still help the 600 others to just, well, discover something, because I know a lot of people who just work or learn something from a boot camp that might not help them into IT, but somewhere else. So that's really 800 women that you're helping one way or another. That's huge, and so that's basically 200 every year if you do it for 4 years. So
Yeah.
that's wow, that's insane. That's a huge amount. That's indeed a big achievement. Congratulations on that one. I want to go to that next, and we already talked a little bit about it. Do you have any personal agility tip to share? Something that you do yourself that can help the people who are watching this channel?
I already spoke about time and living by my calendar and prioritizing, but one thing that I do is to do a weekly retro of my time. So I sit down, so it's Sunday today here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down and just go through my previous week, see what things I've done, what I have not, what have I learned, is there anything I need to change in my plan? and then plan for the next week. So this is something that I do to make sure that I'm not doing things just because out of habit, and they actually serve some kind of purpose in my week or in my work. And because I do have a lot of things going on at the same time, so I need to make sure that I'm mindful of what exactly I'm doing, and is it the best use of my time. So I think a weekly retro ritual where you sit down and just spend like 30 minutes or an hour making sure that your previous understanding what you did in your previous week, marking things off your list, and then moving on to planning your coming week is it can be really helpful if someone wants to do that. Yeah.
I like, yeah, it's something I try to teach a lot of people. Just looking back at the last week and then planning the next week. It's basically what Dr. Covey says. Okay, putting the big rocks in your agenda, because if you don't do it, if I don't do it, my agenda fills up with lots of different things. Sometimes, well, usually urgent, but the question is urgent also important? So what you say is that you block the time in your agenda for the important things that you care about, that are your priorities, and you take care of it.
Yeah.
That is indeed a very good tip that I think a lot of people could be helped out. So thank you. That's probably one of the best tips I heard so far. And no offense to all the other people I talked before, but it's no, it's really good. Like you say, taking a time once a week to plan it. I think that's a really good one. So now I'm really curious, because you talked about before that you work from Pakistan in a remote way sometimes. So what's and the question on the screen is, what have you learned about remote working recently? But because you've been doing this for a while, maybe it's not just recently. Is there anything that you know that's helping really well for remote work?
I think if you can manage, having a designated place in your home for working is extremely important so that you can unplug. I've been working remotely since 2014. Yeah, 2014. So it's been a while, 8 years. Um, I never work from my bed or my bedroom. Just make sure that I'm in another room on a proper chair and a table to make sure that I have a separate workspace. And then when I want to just, I'm done with the work, I just get up and go and unwind. A lot of people in this, especially because of COVID-19, especially in Pakistan, we see a lot of remote work happening because all of
Mhm.
the companies gave remote work to their employees. And in with my teams also and other teams also, I've seen that people, the lines between personal and their professional lives have blurred, and they are just, and it makes you really anxious when you do not have that kind of unwinding time and your mind is constantly thinking about work. So it's really important if you're working remotely, if you can't afford like have a separate place or a home office, then at least having a quiet corner in your household to make sure that you can work there, and then you leave your devices there and just get up and move out of that place. It's really important to keep keep yourself sane in these crazy times, because as we already spoke about the pandemic and then now the war happening, the bad news is everywhere. So you have to make sure that you maintain your sanity and just have a designated place for yourself to work and then move out of that space.
Yeah, I like that. This is something I've seen a lot of people struggling in Belgium when they started to work remotely. Because, well, most of us, a lot of us went remote from one day to another. All of a sudden, it was like, now you have to start working remote. And they just, well, took the laptop home, but they didn't think, where will I work and how do I work? And they basically work from everywhere. And one thing, it's nice, but like you say, work is then everywhere. And yeah, then it's a phrase that I like to use. Then all of a sudden it becomes not much, how do I say it, it's not working from home, but it's more like living at work, it feels, because work is everywhere.
Yeah.
And I like that you say you have to have a designated place. And I can imagine if you don't have a large house, that for some people it's too hard. But I like that you say, okay, put a quiet place, put a place where you can work. That's a good tip. And I still see a lot of people ignoring that rule. It helps a lot. Um, It's not always easy, especially have you a small house, but it helps if you can find ways to do this. Okay, I want to go to that next question about what's the last or what's a book that you have read that you want to tell people about that you think is really interesting.
So I read a lot of fiction. I really enjoy fantasy. I really enjoy a lot of different types of fiction. And in the past year, I have started reading a lot of Japanese literature, contemporary
Wow.
literature, and I translated, of course, because I can't read Japanese.
Ah, okay.
So yeah. So I really recently I read a book. It's called Lonely Castle in the Mirror. It's about childhood trauma and bullying, kind of like fantasy, contemporary, uh, story about a bunch of children who were bullied at school and they found a refuge in a castle somewhere out of reality. Really interesting book, and it was really hard to read because it talks about a lot of things that a lot of us may have experienced in our own families and in our own schools, and people we know and we have met who have experienced those things. So excellent book. And I, because most of the books that I'm used to reading are usually from the US, Canada, UK, some parts of Europe. The fairy tales that I've read, most of them are from Europe. So I was not familiar with this side of literature. So I was introduced to Japanese translated contemporary literature by a friend, and really thankful for her for doing that. An excellent book if you want to check it out.
Yeah, I would definitely hope to send me the link to that, and I'll add it to the show notes so that people can comment. And I would be interesting to see because I like the fact you say, okay, we have the tendency to read Western culture, Western literature, either UK, US, and a lot of other things. So it might be interesting to see if a lot of people listening here have discovered other kind of literature, like you say, Japanese. I have a friend who's very into Japanese literature as well, so there might be other people have other kind of literatures. So that's an interesting thing to learn. So thank you for your friend and thank you for sharing it because that's indeed that's how we discover other kind of things. So that's really really nice. Um, I want to go to the question that I personally find the most interesting to learn is that what question do you think I should also ask you and what's the answer?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know. I
Um, I'm not really sure about that. I Maybe I can tell you a bit about the local tech industry, the work that we are doing in diversity, gender diversity and inclusion, and I'm specifically saying gender diversity and inclusion because other sorts of inclusion have not even touched my country yet. So gender is something that is the main point of discussion right now, and then I think we will start thinking about other people also. Um, I think I would have liked to answer a question about Pakistan's tech ecosystem and what's been happening here, because we are far off and a lot of people do not know about it. So, so we do have a thriving tech ecosystem here. A lot of you must have known Pakistan as the offshoring part, where a lot of people send their technology work to be done. So we have a lot of companies who do take offshore clients for providing them IT services. And in recent times, we see a lot of work around the startup ecosystem. So we are getting a lot of investments here in Pakistan on that. Um, a lot of venture capitalists and VCs and angel investors are looking towards Pakistan to invest in the startup ecosystem because suddenly there is a lot of demand for products and IT enabled product and services locally. Because internet penetration has been increasing. We have a very young population, so the median age is 22 years, and 60% of the country is young or youth.
wow,
So
that's a huge number.
yeah, so there are a lot of young people here, a lot of people who are very technology savvy. So we are seeing a lot of work in that area. Pakistan is also like on number three in terms of the best freelancing service providing country in the world. So we make, I think, a few million dollars every year via freelance remittance. So, so yeah, so a lot of things are happening. It's a great time to be an engineer in Pakistan, actually, right now.
That's nice to hear. And number three is really like wow for well such well, small country is maybe exaggerated because small is maybe, but still, it's not. I would say in Western society, not many people think about Pakistan as being a top giant country, a tech giant country. That's a word I was looking for. So that's huge to share. Thank you, because that's indeed something I did not know. um, that's fantastic to learn about that. I also like that you say the way you said about gender diversity. It's yeah, I don't know. As a man, it's hard to know, but I think that's something I see in other things. Like, okay, let's start with gender diversity, and then let's go differently. Because yeah, one out of two is is a woman, so that's usually something that is very visible to know how inclusive are we on that level. Usually, the answer is we're not. So that's something to work on. But it's like you say, there is a lot more work after that that we still need to do in many, well, I think in almost all um, economies, technologies, companies, and everything. So yeah, it's a nice way of putting that. Okay, we're already at that last question about, okay, who do you think I should ask next? Who do you want me to introduce?
There are a lot of people in Pakistan that I think I can recommend. I think one of them would be Shamim Rajani. She and I run the coding bootcamp together. She is also, an agile practitioner and does a lot of work around that also. Uh, I think she was also one of the founding members of the local agile society that we have here in Pakistan. So I think she can be a good a person to interview. Also, another one is Arsalan Ali. He and I, we have been colleagues for almost 10 years now, and excellent person, tested at heart, does a lot of work around community building, and I think he can be a very very good person to interview. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. We'll definitely, I'll get the contact details later from you, and then we'll get this going for more talking to you. Okay, thank you very much for your time. If people want to learn more about you, where can they find more information about you?
They can go to my website, faizayousuf.com.
Mhm.
And then if they want to reach out, I'm usually on Twitter. So at Faiza Yusuf is my Twitter handle. So I would love to chat and talk about these topics. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time, and well, it was lovely. We had some technical problems here, but I hope that most people won't notice it when they watch the video. But thank you very much for your time. It was a wonderful Sunday morning for me to start this way. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was really lovely talking.
Thank you for watching Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.